Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. This is another episode of the Captain's Quarters Show. I am your host, L. Milliner, the captain. I appreciate you all for being here. I have a special guest that will be joining me momentarily. His name is Victorrus Felder. He is running for mayor of Montgomery, Alabama. I'm going to be asking him questions in regards to him being mayor. What would be his goals, his vision, his plans for the city of Montgomery? So I will be bringing him on momentarily to get started. Just sit tight for me. I am a one-man show over here. Good deal. All righty. And I will bring him in. All right, sir. How you doing today?
All right. How about yourself?
Doing well. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the viewers.
All right. Well, how's everyone doing? My name is Victorrus Felder. I'm a candidate for mayor of Montgomery. This is my second time running. I ran in 2019, and now I'm back 2023 to try to make a change. I'm a Montgomery native. I grew up in the west side area of Gill Village. Stayed on the south side of town for a moment. Graduated from Carver High School, attended college at Miles College, returned home, worked around a few odd jobs, and for the past 15 years, I've been working with the Department of Corrections.
Okay, awesome. Now, my first question I want to ask you is, there's 4 candidates running for mayor, what do you believe your chances are of being the next mayor of Montgomery?
I think my chances are good. When you break down what's needed, and when you talk to 85 to 90% of the people, crime is something that's a major problem. With me having 15 years in law enforcement, I would think that me having experience being around criminals for the past 15 years, and also my friendships and associations with police officers and state troopers and deputies, because a lot of times, we would work with each other. Then a lot of times people would leave and go over to another department, or leave that department to come over to our department. And a lot of times due to pay or less stressful environment, however they want to look at it from either side. So I feel as though with my experience in law enforcement and the crime is the issue, no other candidate has any background in any type of law enforcement except myself. So I feel as though when you're an applicant and you're trying to apply for a job and you're trying to highlight your areas of where you are better than the other applicant, I feel as though when it pertains to crime with me and my background, then I think that's pretty much a no-brainer to me. Now, other people may view differently, but I think with the friendships and connection that I have and the insight and the information that I get from our buddies in law enforcement, I feel as though the plan that I have for crime, and not just shootings, people talk about the speeding that's taking place, the burglaries, things of that nature. So it's not just based mainly off of murders. It's also based off, the speeding and the break-ins, etc.
Okay. Staying on that wavelength of crime, what do you see Montgomery as having a major issue with crime?
Yes, a real major issue with crime. Whenever you have your deadliest year on record for a city, and you're on pace this year to outdo that previous record set, you have a problem. You have to address that problem. In 2019, I think we had at least 42 or 44 murders. Since then, we've averaged over 60 murders a year since then. And we're being told crime is down. I don't know who's looking at the numbers or what's wrong with their math, but going from 42 to over 60 is not a decline in crime, especially with murders. that's being
right.
reported. So we have to look at that's what's being reported. Now, the depth investigations and the ones that they're not telling us about, that's another issue also.
That's right. And I actually have those numbers right here. So last year we had 61 homicides. In 2021, we had 77, which was the record, all-time record in Montgomery. 2020, 68. 2019, 42. Now, previously to that, from 2011 to 2019, we averaged like right around 40 homicides a year. So if you look at the last 3 years, we're over 60.
Yes.
So, all right. So please put that in perspective. Now, what strategies, or are there any alternative strategies that, if you were mayor, that you would implement to help prevent crime and reduce our crime, especially the violent crime, or really property crime, all crime, really?
Yes, there is. I mentioned this previously. Then my attention was brought to a certain person's page where they're trying to, I guess, nitpick off my ideas or take some of my ideas, because when you're not in a city for 3 years and you return less than a year and want to be mayor, it kind of brings suspicion as to your agenda behind it. But my plan is to incorporate local law enforcement agencies, other local law enforcement agencies. Right now, they're saying we have a shortage. So to try and help with that, we would use other law enforcement agencies to give us a hand in setting up different operations, whether it's speeding, whether it's increasing patrol in certain neighborhoods. Like, for instance, you have districts 1 and 9. What I would do, again, I'm saying this on your show. Now, if you hear it after today, you will know where they got it from. They are closer to the Pike Road area, and to partner with the county. So say if the county has some extra officers, we can have them patrol the areas of 1 and 9, and we can move our units closer to, say, District 6 and 5 and increase patrol in those areas. So that's one way we can look at trying to help with the increase of presence in certain areas. So I will give that one out.
Okay. Now, when it comes to the current administration, Mayor Reed said that he was going to, when he ran his campaign, he said he would implement some technological advances in policing, such as shot spotters, and some other ideas that he threw out there. Like, would you be looking at anything in that realm as far as technology-based preventative measures, or is it more of a boots on the ground, increase, police force, and then the partner with other agencies?
I think you have to go with the technology age also. So not only more presence, but you also have to go with the technology. From my understanding, the city does have a system in place now. How that system is ran is something that I would like to see, because right now, for what we're seeing take place in the streets, and for us to have this technology that we allegedly have, something is not working somewhere. So maybe not enough attention or resources has been given to it, to where that can actually be seen to where there's a decrease or is actually effective. Then that will have to be maybe up under a different administration, because it doesn't seem as though crime or combating or decreasing crime is the focus of this administration right now.
Okay. The whole citizen review board, do you support that? I've seen that being pushed heavily. Do you support that, and why not?
I'm not against it. I do think we need that to have citizens have more of a trust within our police department, because we do have to come together as a community, and it has to be a better understanding of the job that the officers face on day in, day out. I don't think right now is the timing for it. So I'm not against it, but I don't think this is the time for it, far as making it a political agenda at this point in time when we don't have enough officers to criticize or ridicule, because that's all it's mainly going to be. So if you only have a few right now, and we're having problems where we have slow response time, we're having officers, making sure that they're waiting for backup to come, other than report to some of these shootings or fights that may be taking place. So it's enough stress on the officers now. And I don't think that we need to add on a review board of more criticism of them at this particular time, when we do have the ones that are staying. They should be commended and applauded for staying on the force, dealing with what they're dealing with now, instead of having a review board to kind of criticize them more about how they perform their job.
Okay. All right.
So I'm not against it, just not at this time.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I have a comment from someone that says, one thing that no one really talks about is the gang violence in Montgomery. There's a lot of it, and it goes overlooked and untouched. Sadly, it's taken over the city and even affected surrounding cities. The car thefts and police chases aren't just by coincidence. To what end? So, I just want to read this comment, but I think that you have put out your platform of how you want to reduce crime, and you acknowledge that there is a major crime issue, and so I'm gonna move on from that. Now, I do want to ask. I've seen a lot of people say that the mayor's role doesn't play a role in reducing crime. Like, crime is just going to happen. It's not the mayor's fault. What role does the mayor play specifically in reducing crime? Like, as far as the supervision of whoever, what role does a mayor play in that?
Well, I feel as the leader of a city, that is your job. Now, he's not out there committing the murders himself. Now, we all know that, but as like the response he gave COVID, that wasn't his job to do anything about COVID. He couldn't stop COVID, but he was advocating, and he was out more pushing people to do the right thing in his eyes, far as either stay in the house or go and get whatever services that was provided at the time. So he was a major advocate for people doing the right thing about COVID. That's not his spot. He's not in medical. So when it comes to crime, why is there an excuse to where that's not his job? He's not responsible for the murders. Well, he wasn't responsible for COVID, but he was a major advocate. He was in front of the cameras every chance he got to speak on it, because it was a national push. It was something that a lot of people was getting attention on. People don't get attention for crime or trying to reduce or combat crime, because it's more of a psychological job. That's a hard job to do, to base your campaign off of dealing with or trying to control the actions of people. That's understandable. So no one wants to put their name or stamp on that. I'm willing to do it. You have to be a great leader and a fighter to even want to put your name on trying to decrease crime and deal with the mindset of some of the youth and some of these adults that we have when it pertains to not having or understanding conflict resolution. So I feel as though with the research that I have done and wanting to have change anyway, and feeling like, and being a leader and going out and doing the research and not being closed-minded to just accept whatever that's put out, accept the norm. You have people talking about, well, crime is everywhere and there's nothing you can do about it. But I've seen research where cities have reduced crime. So why is it that I think it's the buy-in of the leadership? If the leader that you like and whatever they say you go by starts to put out, there's nothing we can do, crime is happening everywhere, then you're going to buy into that. Where you have the leader, if you have a leader like myself that says, no, I'm going to keep finding a way, I'm going to keep looking, we're going to keep coming up with a plan to decrease crime, there will be a way, there has to be a way. I feel as though that type of mindset and buy-in from the people around you is better than just saying, oh, well, it's happening everywhere. We can't do anything about it. We're not going to do anything about it, but we're going to dress it up as if we're doing something about it. And we see that there's no effective action when it pertains to leadership going out and about to decrease crime in the city.
Okay. What I've seen this be something that has been on the table, a curfew for teenagers. Is that something that is worth our time for implementing, or what do you say about that?
I think that's something you have to really break down and look at, because with this day and age, with these different jobs that we have, as far as Hyundai, and you may have a parent that works overnight, and the kid may be in high school, and if they're 16 or 17 years old, depending on the age you're trying to implement the curfew for, because somebody's gonna have to face the consequences. If it's not the child, most people say, well, the parent needs to suffer the consequences for the action of that child being out and about. Well, if the parent has to go to work at 10 and get off at 6 in the morning, and that parent is a single parent, and they're trying to work and provide, they don't know what's going on from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. unless they're calling each moment on their break, or have a camera to where they can check the cameras in the house to see if their child is there. So it's too much to look into to say automatically now that I would agree with a curfew. I think that's something that we have to really look at, and it has to be a consequence for it. But who's going to pay that consequence?
Right. Okay. So now I'm gonna stay away from the whole crime thing, specifically, and talk about businesses, economy. The south side of Montgomery, the north side of Montgomery are deserts for the most part when it comes to larger businesses like retail stores, restaurants. What are some things that as mayor you could do to change the trajectory of those areas business-wise?
It goes back to crime. So we want to shift and push it. I was having a conversation with someone that's influential on bringing businesses to Montgomery. And I brought that up. I said, well, you had some influential people on the west side of Montgomery was saying that, well, they want to have a restaurant to where they want to go and sit down. We would like an upscale restaurant to where we don't have to drive all the way across town to go and get something to eat. We want something like that over here. We deserve better grocery stores over here. So when I asked the question, the person went back to, well, what's the main problem with West Montgomery or North Montgomery? He said it goes back to crime. It's hard to sell a business to come into an area that's crime ridden because you scare them off because of profit. Anytime you open up a business, the objective is to make money and, to me, expand. So if you have to open up a business and you're worrying about, are you going to profit or are you going to lose profit? That's a major issue. But I feel as though we do need to focus in on those areas like the Montgomery Zoo. I feel as though we need to put more funding into the Montgomery Zoo because it's a place that, again, a lot of people go to with their kids and with their family. It can be added as a tourist attraction if we add more to it. And you can build around that area in North Montgomery that sits on the other side, especially when you have things like Zoo Day. You have thousands of people that go and attend the zoo. But with me going lately, like I have 4 kids. And my younger 2 kids, we're starting to take them now like we did our 2 daughters earlier. And it's not much of a change. Some of the animals, don't have the same weight on them that they may have had 7 or 8 years ago. So it's like, okay, what can we do to make it more appealing, to make more of an attraction? And the more people, that come in, you can add, like you said, more retail stores. You can put another grocery store in that area. So it's more things you can build onto when you put more attention on something that's major. So the zoo is major. What other businesses can you put around there that they can prosper with also? For instance, like the Kmart that was on the boulevard. So I was talking to someone that's a business owner, and they mentioned how when that Kmart left, it killed a lot of other small businesses that was able to attract customers because of Kmart. So now when we lose major corporations like that, that doesn't help the city. Things should have been done to try to keep Kmart here. Or something else should have been in place to bring another major name or company there to make sure that those other small businesses still thrive. So that there's a lot of things that we can look at and areas that we can look at as far as business to make sure that we're being fair about building the economy throughout the city. Again, we know East Chase is going to get business, downtown is going to get business, but those areas can grow also. Downtown has a lot of room to grow. A lot of investors are attracted to downtown because of the Whitewater Park. Many people have their opinions about it, but it's here. We must deal with it. We must make it the best water park that we can, and we must try to make it stand out as one of the best in the nation. So stores are going to be needed. Investors are going to have to be brought to Montgomery to see what else can we add or what can we sell them on to make Montgomery their home and to make them expand within Montgomery. So I think my people don't hear me talk about business as much because I put crime at the forefront, but I do have a business plan. I do have someone that their background is economic development that's giving me ideas and helping me with my platform. But again, I've learned from last time, when you don't have as much money as other candidates, you can throw your ideas out. And because they may have money for the commercials and a larger audience that they reach, you have to be careful about how much of your plan you put out. So I went to a forum that wasn't really a legit forum from what I was told because all candidates hadn't qualified. And I was throwing out some ideas, and later on I saw where some of those people were using some of the things from my platform. So it's not that I don't have a plan for a business. Someone mentioned that earlier today. All I talk about is crime, crime, crime. And I have to talk about business and education. But if I'm asking people that are influential in bringing businesses here, and they're saying crime is the reason, and I've seen articles where city council people were having to explain why are these businesses moving from their district. Well, because the population is going down and it's more of a impoverished area and crime. So if crime is the common denominator to the problem, then what's the issue with addressing crime? Again, that's not the only part of my platform, but making a city safe gives you so much room to grow in other areas.
Beautiful. Answer that question. I mean, people that tune in to what I talk about, whether I'm making posts, whether I'm doing this show, I talk about crime a lot. I mean, to be honest with you, that's one of the most straightforward. Your stance on crime is one of the most straightforward views of it that I've heard from almost anybody, whether it be city council up to mayor here in Montgomery. So, now let me ask you this. Well, I want to ask that a little bit later. So you were talking about, you did mention education, and there was a push for the occupation tax. A couple years back or so. What are some not that specifically, but I mean, do you support that? And also, what are some other ways that you would want to boost our economy, as far as taxes or any other ways?
I think anytime you talk about a tax, I would rather the people vote on it. I would rather come up with a plan, present it to the people, and let them vote on if they want to increase the tax or not. People talk about, it's a lot of wants, and they say you get what you pay for. One of my things is increasing the pay for the police officers. Someone asked me earlier, how much do I think they should start off with? I think competitive pay for what you deal with and the population size, but at the same time, I also like to focus on retention, because you can have a lot of officers work for you 10 to 15 years, and all of a sudden you have people coming through the door and they're making maybe $2,000 or $5,000 less a year than they are, and they've been there 10 to 15 years. I don't feel as though that's fair. What can we do to make sure we retain and we bring back some of the officers that may have left due to maybe low morale, not feeling like they had the leadership that they needed to bag them in certain situations. So I feel as though if you focus on retention and recruiting, and you have to up the pay scale. Now I'm seeing firsthand what offering more money does, because in my field, it was hard for us to get people in, especially consistently in good numbers or high numbers. We're seeing that pay off to where, okay, let's go ahead and give what a lot of people have been saying that they need to give, or something close to it. So for a person to go out and put their life on the line day in and day out, there's no amount of money that you can ever pay a person for doing something like that. But we understand we do have a cap. We do have rules and regulations and guidelines that we have to go by. So you try to make the pay more comfortable as possible for them going out, and you showing gratitude for the job that they do in and out. But again, with that comes the enforcement of the standards. There will be an enforcement of the standard, because you can't have the public paying you or help paying your salary, and you don't understand that you have to walk a fine line when it pertains to securing and governing your people. So we will make sure that a high standard is set for the pay that you receive and the job that you have to go out and do. Now, my stance on crime and being straightforward is because of my experience and my 15 years in law enforcement, and me seeing and talking with friends. Like, I've been talking about having a plan for Montgomery for a while now. 2019, a lot of people felt like I had great solutions to the problem. I don't just talk about the problem. I give solutions. What can we do to combat it? I give great solutions to the problem. A lot of people like to talk tough or like to talk the talk, but they don't have the experience. I'm the only candidate with any experience in any type of law enforcement. So I think, to me, again, that would pretty much or should work in my favor if crime is an issue to you. But that's my stance on it, and that's how I feel as though we can kind of, maneuver when it pertains to increasing the budget or increasing funding for them and having more officers on the street.
Okay. Do you would you label yourself as a more liberal minded person, more conservative minded person? And what does that really matter to you? And if so, why not?
I mean, none of it really matters, because a lot of people are going to have their opinion of where do I fall. I don't pick either side. I have my opinion about things. I sit, I observe, I look, I research, and that's what I come with. So I don't sway to either party. I feel as though if I'm pushing safety and unity, then I can't close myself off to say, well, I'm this type of person or I'm connected with this party. I have no party affiliation. I've been told some of my views are kind of, hey, they're not the typical norm views of your demographic. But at the same time, I do a lot of reading, a lot of it. I do a lot of researching. And I feel as though when you're open-minded and you see where there's little to no progress, when you have people follow a certain group, and if it doesn't make sense, then I'm not going to do what everybody else does. I'm not going to follow a particular group based off the party because this particular demographic is going with this party. No, I don't sway either way. If it makes sense to me and it benefits myself and my family, then, that's what I vote with. I don't let anybody dictate to me what side to sway to based off a demographic of people. So I feel like as long as you're open-minded, you're able to unify and bring people in because you don't pick a side and you're straightforward and you're straight to the point, which I feel like I am.
How important is your skin color to you in relation to running for mayor?
Can you repeat that?
How important is your skin color to you in relation to running for mayor?
I think with electing the first black mayor, it kind of okay, we can do this. We're over that hump because the last election, I think a lot of people felt like it was time for change, and on both sides. With me talking with the black voters, with me talking with the white voters, a lot of them felt like it was time, so that the mindset of Montgomery is changing. So, people are not, on edge or, reluctant to say, well, he's black, I'm not going to vote for him because I'm white. Because right now I have a very diverse team, and I'm around people from all parties, from all different races that are behind me. So I don't feel like it's an issue to all. It may be an issue to some. It's like before I got into when I got into the race, some people still had comments about, well, there's still nobody. He doesn't have any competition. Then we get someone come in that is more comfortable looking, I would say, to a lot of people, and they jump behind them without even hearing the platform. So I do think it does play a factor to some people, because a lot of people may be comfortable with just voting for black. Want to vote for Felder because he's black. Some people may want to say, I'm going to vote for Reed because he's black. Some people may say, well, I'm going to vote for Gilbert because he's white. Some people may say, I want to vote for McNeil because he's black. So, people are going to have their preference. I feel as though we need to look at the platform. We need to pick platform over your favorite color. I tell black people a lot. I say, okay, in 2019, a lot of blacks elected the first black mayor solely because a lot of them felt like we needed a black person. So what did we get from that? We got 4 of the deadliest years in the history of Montgomery, because a lot of people voted based off race, and you didn't listen to the platform. If you would have listened to his platform, you would have known he never had a plan for crime. Public safety was never one of his strong points. And we're seeing that now. So we're going to go back to skin color, and we're not going to be fair about looking at the resume of on the application of the candidates. Then what makes you think it's going to be any better if you don't listen to the platform of the person that's running for your vote? So if a person comes in and they're your favorite skin color, and crime is an issue for you, but they haven't been here a whole year, they've missed out on the deadliest years of Montgomery, and all of a sudden they pop back up less than a year talking about they want to run for mayor, and they have a plan, and you fall for it. And once that person is in office and nothing changes, then that's not on that person. That's on you, because you didn't do a full evaluation of that person's platform. So one thing that they will say about me is crime, crime, crime. And I think some try to use that as that's my only thing that I talk about. No, that's not the only thing that I talk about. As you saw when you asked me about the business side of it, I gave you some of my platform on the business side, and why that I view a lot of areas can't grow economically throughout the city is based off crime. Now, I gave you areas to where we can build off of, and why we have a decline for small businesses in certain areas. But crime is the key factor. But again, if we elect someone that does not have a plan on decreasing crime, doesn't have a background in crime, doesn't even have a background in politics, this is their first time running in politics, then how can you say that that person has an edge over myself or the person that's in office now or the other young man that's running? So it's a lot of things that we have to look at, far as let's put our preferences to the side and let's put the platform in the front.
Okay. What are you a man of faith?
I call myself a spiritual person. Again, I'm open-minded, and I have an understanding of each person's religion or spiritual journey that, that they may appeal to or that they belong to. I've been to different churches, Presbyterians, Baptist churches. I've talked with Muslims. I mean, I've talked with, people from different walks of life. So to me, again, staying open-minded opens that door. Because if you're closed off, or some people may say, I'm part of this here, and because of my views or religious outlook on things, they may not agree with me. Or if I say I'm a part of this certain religion, and policy wise, I may want to go in a different route, then, you kind of get ridiculed for that, because you have some preachers that are into politics, and the laws that they may agree with kind of conflicts with their spiritual or their religious background. So I'm spiritual.
Fair enough. Fair enough. The current administration has been really pushing like the whole LGBT agenda. There was a restroom facilities ordinance that was heavily pushed. I believe I want to say last year, or maybe in 2021, and it would have allowed men to use women's restrooms and that type of thing. What is your stance on LGBT agendas? Is that something that locally should be pushed in government, or what do you stand on that?
There was a lot of chaos behind that ordinance, and that's something that I did not agree with. Again, I have two daughters, and at the time that they were pushing it, I was outspoken about it. And that's another. I'm not going to bite my tongue. I understood that I ran that time, and I understood that possibly I would run again. And my thing was, man, I have two daughters. So if a man feels like he's a woman and goes into that bathroom with my daughters, and something happens to my daughters, that's going to put me in a real, messed up mindset. So I don't want a man going into the bathroom with my daughters. I don't feel like a woman should go into the bathroom with my little boys. So I think we should have boundaries. Now, if you want to create a bathroom that says everybody can go in, and you understand that everyone is going to go into this restroom, then that's fine. But for those of us that are comfortable in being stationed to where this is for the girls and this is for the boys, or this is for the men and this is for the women, then let us go to those bathrooms that we feel comfortable with going in, far as when it's based off our gender. I feel if there are any problems far as anybody's being discriminated against because of their sexuality, then we will look into that and things will be addressed accordingly. But far as trying to push something based off an agenda that aligns with the specific party, no, I don't think that's something that we need. I haven't heard of anyone being discriminated against because of sexuality, because when you go out and about in the city, you see people of have certain sexual preferences working pretty much everywhere in the city. So I haven't heard of it. So to try to put something into place that we don't need, and Montgomery is already attracting a lot of business anyway, far as corporations with FedEx, the beverage company, Hyundai is expanding. So we're getting the jobs based off the location. The location of Montgomery is the best part about it, being the central location. So it's always going to be a hub to attract businesses here. So I don't think that part of trying to get that ordinance passed through was something that's needed.
Okay, all right. I asked this. I was at a town hall maybe a month ago now, with a few of the city councilmen, as well as Willie Durham and some others. And I asked the question of what could the local government do to incentivize, encourage mothers and fathers, men and women, to be together, stay together, raise their families together. Because we saw the government, at the federal level, we saw the government come in and split up the family. So what can be done, at least on a local level, as far as being a mayor, what could be done to incentivize and encourage families to get together and stay together? Well, what is your opinion on that?
I think you look at what free resources do you have. You look at what grants or who may be open to far as different coaches, because a lot of time it's difficult for people to, especially grown people, to accept the fact or be told that what you're doing is not right or the way you're doing is not right. And these ways may help you be a better parent. These ways may help you cope with understanding on how to deal with each other. So I think we have to find different people that are professionals in those areas and try to see what grants or funds are available outside of the budget, that if we don't have to go that route. And from my understanding, there are a lot of programs out there where they offer different type of assistance. But if we don't have people, again, that research and that are open-minded and understand that the world is moving into a different era and level, then we're going to be stuck looking for plans and ideas. But I feel as though if we look for people that are certified and that has a good showing and a good record of coaching. Some may say life coaches are good for certain situations, and some may say certain therapists are good in certain situations at that. But we have to get to the basics of it. And again, that's part of the development when you talk about the community centers also. So you go to these areas and offer these programs, but you have to get them in. This is something that can be implemented also at the community center level, because these are the areas where I feel like the focus should be, and a lot of concern is in your high volume or high areas of crime. So this is something that can be implemented as far as parenting skills and relationship skills to help us stay into the home and be better fathers and better mothers to our kids.
Yeah, I asked that question because I don't hear. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know if anybody else watching has seen it, heard it. I don't really ever hear anyone talk about that specifically as far as the family unit, a man, a woman, and their children, and the government figuring out some kind of way to encourage them and help them along the way. You see a lot of single parents, especially single mothers, get assistance. You see a lot of programs geared toward kids who are at risk. There's many nonprofits. There's churches everywhere. We got churches on every corner, and especially in Montgomery. There's outreach, for when it comes to kids, when it comes to single parents, especially mothers. The government gives a woman, they get all kind of help from the government, monetarily, food wise, EBT, that type of thing. But I don't see the same focus. I don't see the same energy being put into the families. And I've always said, I've been saying it for years, that the number one deterrent of crime and the number one method for making sure that kids graduate high school and know how to read, write, add, subtract, all that good stuff, is to have fathers and mothers in the home. And we often just see dads kind of be looked at as in addition to what the mother's doing, rather than being more the leader, more of an important role in the whole family as a whole. And so, I don't know. I don't know. I just haven't seen, programs for that specifically. But hold on. I got a comment that says, let's see, I've been off live, working and watching. Okay, so he says, given the history of Montgomery never having a black mayor to having a black mayor who has been the subject of controversy, do you feel you have the thick skin needed to deal with backlash you will receive from anti-progressives?
Working in the prison 15 years, you have to develop some of the thickest skin ever. And I've heard some pretty rough things. And I understand, being in that position and making decisions that a lot of people are not going to like, a lot of people are going to love. It's going to be mixed emotions from a lot of people. So I don't feel as though you can't wear your emotions on your sleeve. You can't get too caught emotionally into putting yourself out there and putting yourself in a position or asking to be in a position to where there's going to be a lot of criticism and ridicule from every little move that you make. So I feel as though some people have said, it's kind of difficult now because of what's taking place. And a lot of people not agreeing with a lot that's what's going on with the current mayor now. But I feel as though depending on the issues or depending on how things are addressed, and I think I have an understanding of why he's receiving so much backlash from anti-progressives and so on. And I've been hearing from both sides of the aisle. So to me, in a lot of, again, a lot of reading that I do or that I have done is I have an understanding of history. And a lot of people don't like their history being bothered. That's being bothered. A lot of people don't like some of the language that's being spoken because it's not professionally put, so to speak. So there are going to be some changes. It may be something that the mayor saw that was going on that needed to be changed. And maybe he made that change and a lot of people didn't like what he did because it maybe didn't benefit a certain sector of people anymore. So there are a lot of things that you have to look at as to why would you receive the backlash. But again, people are going to try to find any and every little thing to critique and criticize on. So I'm ready for it. 15 years of being in corrections and 7 years of being on the CERT team, that the skin doesn't get any thicker.
Right on. I've run through just about all my questions. Anything else that you would like to add? Final word. Talk to the people.
When selecting or electing a candidate, be fair. Make sure you take your time and understand the person. Do a background check. Like whatever I've said that I've done it. You can't go and say that, well, he lied about this and well, I don't see where he did that. And so some people would try to pad their resume. And when you go on and look back up what they put down, it's like some of that stuff don't add up. So now that person looks as if they're a liar. You don't want a liar in office. You don't want to knowingly try and or have yourself fall in line with supporting a liar. Look at the resumes. Again, if a candidate has an edge on someone in a section that you feel like it's an issue to you, then vote for that person. But I feel as though we need to put platform over preference. No other candidate has the experience that I have with the 15 years that I have in law enforcement and the 7 years that I have on CERT. The 7 years on CERT is the Correctional Emergency Response Team. For 7 years, I responded to hostile situations. For 7 years, I had to quell disturbances. For 7 years, I had to help restore order. No other candidate has this background. No other candidate. Now, many may try to throw out different areas of concern or question the leadership ability. But again, if you're going to come out and pad your resume and present yourself as a liar, what kind of leadership does that show? To be deceptive. You don't want to deceive anyone. So to come out and be deceptive, how can you make an excuse for that when I'm showing you that far as my resume is concerned and you hearing me talking, you hearing me speaking, me giving out my platform, how can that be overlooked to questionable things that people are already putting out from the beginning? So to me, I'm straightforward. What you see is what you get. Many people, feel like I've grown a lot from 2019 until now, which I have. My plan is for all of Montgomery. I'm not going to be a mayor just for West, South, and North Montgomery, just because I speak of those areas needing more economic focus. I stay on the east side of town. I don't stay in the area that's crime-ridden. But I wouldn't want to neglect the area that myself and my family stays in. and my friends and coworkers stays in and focus somewhere else and leave us stranded over here on this side of town. So no, that's not what I'm about. There are plans that I want to implement to make sure if I'm talking about a shift in policing, like I just mentioned, that we're still covered by other agencies, law enforcement agencies in our area. So I feel like we should be fair. I would be fair. I would be firm, but I would be fair, and I would unify the city. I would make the city of Montgomery safe. So if safety is an issue to you, if making sure Montgomery grows business from a business standpoint is something that you're looking for, I'm your candidate. If education is important to you, also, again, we're not a city school system, and I understand there may be some opposition towards that. There may be a lot of areas higher than the local city and county level that you may have to fight. But again, what are other ways that you can try to work together to implement something to make sure our kids are receiving a better and the best education possible? I also have a plan for that. So I'm not just stuck on crime, but with what we have going on in Montgomery today, it can't be put on the back burner. We're having reports or allegations of murders not being reported correctly. We're having a lot of incidents take place that's not being reported. A lot of shootings taking place that's not being reported. So if it wasn't for social media, just imagine of how much stuff or things taking place that we would not know. I would be more open. However many murders take place, I think the city needs to know. We can't recognize a problem or understand how out of control the problem is if we don't address it, show what it is, and deal with it accordingly. If I'm hiding something from you and lying about it, then you're not going to think it's that serious. But if I'm showing you how serious it is and the impact that it can cause, if we just sit back and no longer do anything about it, then we're going to continue to see what's taking place now. So I think I am the best person for this job. I will be a strong leader. I am a strong leader. And it's time to move Montgomery to a different level. So don't let skin color be a factor in you voting for myself or you voting for another candidate. Understand the platform, listen to the platform, make sure it falls in line with the issues of your concern or your concerns, and go from there. I want to thank you for having me on. Sorry, I appreciate you for moving the time back 30 minutes. I had a radio interview. I got from that, rushed on to the house, came here and did this interview with you, and continue doing what you're doing. I think it's great that we have, young men like yourself or men like yourself trying to get a better understanding of politics, have more of us involved in politics, have a wider, diverse audience to where each side can be honest without someone taking offense to it. That's why I have the people that I have around me now, because a lot of people don't like to talk about race relations. If you don't understand what's taking place and a person says, well, why do black people do that? If a person can't ask you that's not black, why do black people do something, and you take offense to it, then you may have a lot of growing to do. If it's a sincere question, then give the person that answer. Don't take offense to it. But again, that's just me and my mindset. Everybody's not the same, but we're ready to grow, ready to unite, ready to make sure the city is safe, make sure the city is clean, and work together to everyone, from Democrats to Republicans, liberals, conservatives, whatever you want to call yourself. I'm ready to work with you.
Amen. Amen. I appreciate you for being here, giving me your time. How can people contact you? Like website, phone numbers, emails? How can people get in contact with you?
Well, I have a website, victorrusfelder.com. That's victorrusfelder.com. We're having a couple of issues with it now. We had to make some changes to it. And, when you get into all that type of stuff and you have to deal with the company. So we're dealing with that. And I'm giving more of my platform on my website. So again, that's victorrusfelder.com, or some may type in felderformayor.com. And my platform, a more in-depth understanding of my platform, is on there. I have a page on Facebook. I would say there's a person. What'd you say?
Is that the website?
Felder for Mayor. Yes, sir. That's the website.
All right, good deal. So
And
everybody,
I
y'all see that.
I make different posts on my personal page about politics or whatever. So you can come on Facebook and catch me on there. So hey, let's work.
Good deal. Good deal. I appreciate you.
All right, no problem.
All right now. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
All right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That was mayoral candidate Victorrus Felder. I think personally, I was not very familiar with his platform prior to this. I remember he ran in 2019, and he was kind of a person who there was so many candidates in that last race. I mean, I don't know if I'd be exaggerating if I said there were 10 candidates. There were a lot of candidates. So he kind of didn't get the shine, didn't get that light put on him as much because there were so many bigger names, people that already been in government, big time business owners. You had Shannon Ferrari, you had David Woods, of course, Stephen Reed, Arthur Davis, politician. You had other people who are more known. And so, although hearing what he just said, the answers that he gave and his conviction in what he's saying, to me, in this race, I think at this point, I would put him as a front runner. I interviewed Marcus McNeil about a month ago, maybe not quite a month ago. It was like early July. And he has good intentions for the city. It doesn't. I don't personally think it correlates to what we need in Montgomery. So I still got love for you, Marcus. But as far as business, as far as me being a voter myself, I think right now Victorrus Felder has laid out the best platform. I have spoken to Stephen Reed, the current mayor. I talked to him personally a few weeks back, and I told him I would love to have him on here. And so hopefully he will oblige. I've sent out the email that he asked me to send. So hopefully between now and election time, which is August 22nd, I can get him on here and ask him questions about, his administration, what he plans to do in the future. And then also Barrett Gilbreth, who's running. I've reached out to him as well. I actually spoke to his campaign manager. He actually came by my home when they were out canvassing the neighborhood last weekend. And so I told him, I said, man, it's funny you stopped by here because I actually reached out to Barrett on Facebook for an interview on my show. And so he took down my information. So hopefully we can get that set up. So I'm being fair to everybody. I want to give everyone the opportunity to come on here because, in my opinion, I think that I'm able to give a different type of interview or different perspective in the way I interview than a lot of other platforms. There's no, I'm a one-man show. So I'm going to ask what I want to ask. I'm going to be, as direct in my questioning as possible. It's not going to, there's no one overlooking me saying, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, or, I got limited time on doing it. Like this man just gave me over 50 minutes of his time. There were no commercials, there was no breaks. It was just, me asking him questions and him expounding on his answers to those questions. And so in a real authentic way. So I mean, y'all have to let me know what y'all think about this man as far as his platform, his stance, his goals, his vision for the city. Montgomery is in a bad way. You know, it really isn't a bad way. I think economically, there are some wins. You know, I one thing about me, I'm not gonna be a hater. Like if something is going good, I can say, hey, it's going good. And I can say under Mayor Reed, we have gained a good amount of businesses, right? There have been businesses that have moved here. Now the water park that was already in the works already prior to him. So that wasn't necessarily him, but you know, the Mana beverage company, that was like $1 billion investment. That, you know, that got to get that to him. And there's some other things that's going on in the works. So got to give credit where credit's due. But like Victorrus Felder was saying, when it comes to and why I asked him about retail businesses, restaurants on the north side and the south side of Montgomery, in relation to the smaller businesses, where it's like a chain or a small mom and pop type of establishment, those are the really big job makers. Those give a big economic impact as far as taxes. And you know, when a business goes into business, they have to get all kind of licenses. They got to get permit. There's all kind of back end ways that the city and the county make money. So those small mom and pop stores, those smaller, those chain of restaurants and things, retail stores, they're very important. They make a big impact. And so in relation to getting them to want to go to the north side of Montgomery, want to go to the south side of Montgomery, you have to address crime. Has to be addressed. Montgomery Mall left the south side of Montgomery. All right, the first mall in Montgomery Mall was there for a very long time, and it left because of the crime. The crime is what pushed it out of business. That's what happened. You know, and if you go down the boulevard, a lot of other businesses have left, and it's because of the crime. You have to address the crime. He was 100% right when he said that. You know, addressing the crime, and then you are able to bring in more businesses. People are more willing to take a risk, because when you open a business, it's always a risk, but it's a greater risk when you're going into an area where there's high property crime, there's high violence. You're asking for, you know, issues, and your insurance rate is going to be higher because you're in a more violent, more crime-ridden area. You know, unless you're like some kind of big corporation where it doesn't really matter to them. You know, if you're a Family Dollar, Dollar General, you know, Walmart, it don't really affect them that much because they got the money, they got the amount of stores that they have. They can have a few in bad neighborhoods, and so what, they get broken into 3 times a month, you know, and ransacked and this and that, and you're causing issues for the staff there. Their safety is at risk and all this type of stuff. Who cares? You know, it doesn't really matter. But when you're a small mom and pop type of setup where you're family owned, you know, it's you need this store to make it. You need this restaurant to make it. You're not going to want to go to certain areas. That's just the reality. People don't want to hear it. They want to figure out ways around that, but there's no way of getting around that. You know, I always say, if you want for yourself to be in a better area, a better position in life, then don't hate on another person for wanting that same thing. Don't try to force a business to go in an area that you don't even want to go in to raise your family. It's not like, let's just be practical. Let's be real and logical. Don't force them to say, well, y'all need to have this over here. Why would they go over there when you don't even want to live over there? Like, would you go over there and shop? Probably not. You're gonna probably go Taylor Road, Atlanta Highway somewhere to do your shopping. You're not gonna go want to go to Ann Street or what's another area, man? The Southern Boulevard, it's just, come on, it's just common sense. But anyway, I can go on and on and on. But anyway, I appreciate you all for watching. This was the Captain's Quarters show via From Left to Right USA on YouTube and on Facebook and on my personal page. I appreciate you all for joining. And shout out to everybody that's going to watch the replay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down this video. I should be able to do this. It should be saved. So I can break it down and I can release it in portions. So as well, so you can watch the whole thing, or I'm gonna put out the segments of videos to address different topics that he addressed. And so yeah, I got more coming. I have more coming. It's been, man, I'm so grateful for people that have come on here and done interviews or had conversations or whatever that we've done. I appreciate them. I appreciate you all for watching. Because I want to do something that's a little bit different than your typical platforms that do this type of thing. I think my perspective of things is different from a lot of other I guess you say social media influencers around here, especially here in Montgomery. I just think I'm doing something different. My viewpoint is different, and I think there's a certain amount of people who are attracted to my views because they agree, and then there's also people who are attracted because I would say my good looks, but that's subjective. But I think that some people there's a difference of opinion. There's a difference of views. So they're willing to come over here and listen to what I got to say, because I may be saying something so different, so out of the ordinary for them that they're like, why is he saying that? And I'm glad you asked, because I will be glad to explain and expound upon why I believe what I believe. And I believe any person should be able to do that. When you believe something, you should be able to explain yourself and explain your stance or how you got there, why you're there, and just give an account of why you believe what you believe. I don't think that's out of bounds to ask of someone. But anyway, till next time, I appreciate you all for joining From Left to Right USA on YouTube and Facebook. This was the Captain's Quarters show. I was your host, the Captain. I'm gone.